How long was Neil Armstrong actually on the moon? When did Europe start speaking English? Did Marco Polo really go to China? CuriosityStream is the streaming service for all things history, plus science, wildlife, and more. What's the real story behind the Mona Lisa? We've got that. What caused the collapse of Rome? We know. Where did we find mankind's earliest ancestor? Come find out. For the holidays, give the gift of curiosity with 25% off gift cards for your curious cohorts. It's holiday shopping season at curiositystream.com/gift.
Here's to holiday traditions, the ones that started as a quick laugh but are now irreplaceable. Here's to the recipes that require Grandma's mixing bowl because they just won't taste the same without it. The Chinette brand believes in spending more time on traditions and less time cleaning up. With the Chinette Crystal, Comfort, and Classic collections, we can help make your holiday celebrations better for years to come. Here's to mixing timeless traditions with a few new ones. Here's to us, all of us. To find out more, visit mychinette.com.
Hi guys, and welcome back to the Deep Woods Paranormal podcast. My name is Matt Harvey. I am the lead investigator and also founder of Deep Woods Paranormal, along with my wife Amanda and other friends. We go out and investigate different things paranormally: Bigfoot, UFO, ghost, dogman. If it's paranormal in nature, we essentially go out and investigate it. So I'm hoping the audio is a little bit better today. I just found out my computer has been overriding the audio that I've been posting. Even though I'm using this mic, it hasn't been allowing me to use it. So I hope that takes care of any audio issues we've been having. Sorry about the barking dogs. I put the other dogs outside, and Little Miss Tinkerbell, if you've seen our YouTube videos, you've seen Little Miss Tinkerbell, loves to just yap as soon as she hears me start talking. So hopefully we can get through this podcast without her yelling and screaming too much and carrying on too much. So anyways, each week we talk about different crypto creatures, ghosts, different type of ghosts and hauntings. We talk about locations we've investigated, be it ghost hunting, UFO research, Bigfoot research, or something else. So that's basically what this podcast is. I know we have a lot of new listeners, and I'm just so thankful for all of you. Thank you so much for downloading our podcast and listening every week. We really appreciate it. I can't tell you how much we appreciate it. So thank you guys again. If you're listening on here, you can also go watch our podcast on our YouTube channel, Deep Woods Paranormal, or you can go to our website, deepwoodsparanormal.com. Everything's there, all of our content. Our YouTube videos, our podcasts, our weekly podcasts are there. You can get apparel on our website and stuff like that. So anyways, sorry for all the advertisement. I just want to make sure that I bring everybody kind of up to speed. I've heard a lot of feedback that people, number one, couldn't hear us very well. So I'm hoping this changes things. And then also I'm hoping to kind of introduce things better and do a little bit better on my stories. So anyways, again, I appreciate the feedback. If you want to be a guest on our show, you've had an experience, any kind of paranormal experience, I would love to hear from you. We're working on getting some new guests on here shortly. I'm hoping either end of this month or beginning of next, we'll have several new witnesses of some type of paranormal activity come on and talk for you guys. So those will be fun to interview those people, and hopefully Amanda will be able to participate. I work odd hours, so essentially I work for myself. So while she's at work, I'm editing videos, uploading videos, doing podcasts, breaking down audio and video and pictures and all that stuff from cases, and helping people as much as I can. So anyways, let's get going on the podcast. I apologize for the rant, but I just need to make sure that I covered all that with people, especially because we have so many new, like I said, we had so many new people downloading the podcast. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. All right, so let's get into the stories. I keep getting asked, about Bigfoot. So, hence the hat. And I've got dust on it from Joe's camp. We're not going to talk about Joe's camp today. We're going to kind of go back to the beginning because we have so many new people. And, if you've heard these stories before, I'll try and make sure I go a little bit more detail because people are saying I'm not doing enough detail. So, again, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. I appreciate you letting us know that there was an audio quality sound. When I reviewed these videos and edited them, they sound fine coming through my speaker, but for some reason, everybody else is having some issues. Some people are having issues listening to it. So we don't want to lose you because you can't hear us. All right. So, anyways, where did it all start with me for Bigfoot? Just so you guys know, I was not a believer in Bigfoot. I did not believe they existed. I had seen the shows growing up, kind of making Bigfoot out to be the boogeyman, and parents telling kids that, oh, the Bigfoot's going to get you if you're out in the woods at night, and blah 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 blah. And so I really didn't kind of buy into that. But now I believe, and same with other creatures. I've never seen a dog man. That doesn't mean they don't exist. It just means that I've never personally experienced one. So, hopefully in the future, we'll have that opportunity. And with other things too, like lizard man, dog man, goat man. I mean, there's every type of goat. I mean, every type of man out here you can think of. Ram man. I mean, it just goes on forever. So, anyways, getting back to my story. So where it all started was a place called Black Star Canyon. This is located in the Cleveland National Forest, the Orange County part of Cleveland National Forest up in the Santa Ana Mountains. A little bit of background. I had been researching up there for about 4 to 5 years, maybe. I was out there sometimes 7 days a week. I would go out there in the morning sometimes and take a quick hike looking for Bigfoot related stuff, footprints, hairs, other stuff that I could see during the day. And then sometimes I would even go back at night to see if I could document them as well. But that wasn't where I started. I actually started doing ghost tours. I started doing ghost research up there when I left the California Ghost Hunters. So, again, a little bit of background story. I ran this group called the CLF Ghost Hunters when we first started, when we were we were early 20s, like 23, 24. We were, my wife and I and other friends, other enthusiasts, would go out and investigate different said to be haunted places. And so that kind of one time led us to Black Star Canyon. And we had a lot of experiences up there. I won't get into the ghosts tonight. I can talk about that later if people want me to talk about ghosts up at Black Star, because Black Star is just a crazy, amazing place. I mean, it's paranormally charged somehow. It does have its own fault zone. It gets off in its own energy. That's probably where these spirits are getting all their energy from. But yeah, so let's get back into the Bigfoot stuff. After I ran the California Ghost Hunters for about, almost 12 years. It went from the CLF Ghost Hunters and friends and other enthusiasts kind of joining us on investigations wherever we were going to when the show called Ghost Hunters came on. Everybody goes, Matt, that's what you're doing. You should do that and help people because that's what you do. And I'm like, okay. Little did I know how big of a rabbit hole I was jumping into at that point in time. I turned into Alice in Wonderland. I was way down the hole, so deep, I've never been able to get out. And it just keeps getting deeper and deeper. So, yeah, the more I research, the more, the further down I go. Anyways, so where was I? So I started the group called the CLF Ghost Hunters a couple years after. Essentially, we were originally California Lake Forest Ghost Hunters, and I dropped the Lake Forest part, and we became a TAPS family member team, and we started investigating homes. and we were doing anywhere from 4 to 12 investigation. No, more than that. Let's see, we were doing 4 week. Well, yeah, we were doing about 12 investigations a month. Um, we had almost 30 people in our group. Um, and essentially we had two, sometimes three teams with each of us had our own handy cams, Sony handy cams with night vision. We all had an audio recorder, at least one. We all had at least one K2 or some kind of EMF detector. We all had other ghost hunting gadgets, and then we had the DVR systems that everybody kind of learned to set up at these locations and monitor during investigations. So essentially, this went on for 12 years. Made a lot of friends. Really enjoyed working with all those people. Over the years, we probably had 50, 60 different people come through the group. Um, Always busy, always going, just nonstop, to the point where I even got burned out after about 12 years. And it came to a head where when Amanda said, all you're doing is working and ghost hunting and working ghost hunting, I never see you anymore. And that was kind of a reality check. So I had to let it go. I had to stop. And the paranormal, if you don't know the paranormal or you're in the paranormal, there's no getting out of the paranormal. Once you're in it, you're stuck. I mean, you can say I'm going to take a break or whatever, but it sucks you right back in. So it went about 3 or 4 months, and I had to, change jobs, and all this other stuff was going on in my life, and I had to, just had to stop and take a breath. And so essentially, I started going out to Black Star Canyon, and I was just doing ghost hunting for the first couple of years, pretty much by myself or with whoever wanted to go. And so, I mean, I was out there at all hours of the day. Like I was saying, I could go out there in the morning, and then I could go back in the evening. Most of the time, I went in the evening, but yeah, I was there from anywhere from 8 o'clock at night till 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. Um, Sometimes, always, pretty much almost always by myself or with other people that didn't mind staying out that late. But Black Star Canyon, when I first got there, had almost no cell phone service, and people were getting lost and getting injured all the time. So I always had to carry a heavy duty backpack with me with anything and everything I would need if something went wrong. First aid kit, water, enough water for at least a day if I needed it, and just other things that I might need in case I did something stupid and fell into a hole or fell off the side of a cliff or whatever. I mean, I never knew where I was going to venture out to. So, about 4 years in to doing the research, I decided to start giving ghost tours up there. And other places too. I think I had 6 locations that I did ghost tours to. But my primary location that I really love was Black Star Canyon because it was always active. There was always something going on. And shout out people, apparitions, hearing things, seeing things, having the K2s light up, and other devices pretty much um, light up in response to questions that we would ask, and we get EVPs from up there, and it was just a really cool location. So my first experience with a Bigfoot, believe it or not, came on Halloween night. I had a group of about 30 people with me, and I had just done one quick tour earlier in the evening, and I was sitting there. Had my car parked on the side of the road, and essentially there's a barbed wire fence on the left side of the road, and then barbed wire fence on the other side, and then there's kind of open fields with trees and brush and shrubs and all kinds of stuff. A lot of cover for a Bigfoot, really, to hide in. I mean, they could be there and you wouldn't even see them. So I'm at the back of my car, and essentially I'm giving the safety speech that I always gave. Everybody needs to stay together. If anybody starts to feel weird or anything, let me know. Watch where you're walking. Take your time. We need to slow down, blah, 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 blah. Anyways, I usually gave about a 2 or 3 minute speech about that. Answered any questions anybody had. and then handed out gear, and then we would go. So um, these people were horseshoed behind my car, and we were on the left side of the road where the barbed wire fence was. And two of the girls start complaining that rocks are being thrown at them. And so I'm not thinking Bigfoot. I'm thinking, okay, there's some teenagers over there just trying to either get a rise out of us or scare us or whatever. So I basically had a little miner's light on. If you're watching this, you can kind of see my cap where the Bigfoot research teams is. I had a little miner's light here. And so I took the six biggest guys thinking we could scream and yell at them and show them how big we were and would maybe scare these teenagers off if they saw we had a big show of force. So we walked down to the fence and we're looking out, and I start scanning from left to right. And I don't see anything until I get about, I don't know, just past 12 o'clock, 1 or 2 o'clock on a clock, if you're looking at a clock. Um, there's this huge, silvery, gray haired animal standing there. And by huge, I mean huge. I mean, just massive. And I was just dumbfounded. My jaw was on the ground, probably. Um, I was speechless. And, they say that Bigfoot possibly puts you in a trance. Well, I don't know. I was just, I think I think I was just in shock. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And things weren't computing right. And I'm like, holy crap, what? you know? So essentially, what happened was, I went around and grabbed a camera. Somebody finally snapped me out of my trance. And I ran and grabbed an actual old Coolpix camera. It's a 15 megapixel camera, so it's a good camera for the day. I use it mainly for ghost hunting. And that's what I had with me that night. It was ghost hunting gear. I didn't have anything for Bigfoot except for a video camera and the regular flip up flash little Coolpix. So I ran, instead of getting the night vision the night vision camera. I got the camera, the regular camera, the flash camera, and ran over there. I said, "Okay, is it still there?" And I saw my light back out on, spotlighted it again, and it's just standing there. And I have to explain this thing to you guys. This thing, God, it had to be at least 6 or 7 or maybe even 8 feet wide. The head on this thing was like a giant watermelon. Um, it was just massive. The arms went way down past where I think its knees are. I don't know if they have knees. They do have some kind of bend in their legs. Um, but you couldn't see down below the knees because the grass was too high at that point in time. So I had the ingenious idea of flipping the flash up and taking a picture of this thing. And this thing just, oh my God, it like squinted its eyes and growled at us. And I'm like, holy crap. Now, again, this thing's, I mean, I'm a big guy. I'm 6'2", now about 310 pounds. The arms on this thing are as wide as me. I mean, this thing could have come over and grabbed all of us and torn us to shreds without any issue at all. I mean, it could kill us all, but it didn't. It just grunted when I took that picture. So I looked down and to see if I can see anything. Unfortunately, the creature was too far away to get a good picture of it. So I stupidly took another picture, and oh man, that it just it squinted again and then just stood there. And now I know it was trying to look like a tree. It thought if it just stood still, maybe we wouldn't recognize it. Um, if it wasn't silvery gray and it was brown or blackish, we may not have seen it. I don't know, because it had really long hair. So then essentially it walks, I'd say, doesn't it know we can see it? And I think it snapped it out of its trance of, oh crap, I've been caught. And then it walks behind this little tree, and it wasn't a little tree. I mean, that had a 3 or 4 inch diameter or more of, the tree trunk was 3 or 4 inches wide. and it walks behind this tree, and I mean, it looks like a toothpick behind this tree. I mean, you just see this ginormous thing. The head's above the top of the tree, and it's just looking at us, and it puts its arms around, or its hands around the trunk. And I had no idea they snapped trees or anything at that point in time. I was like, what is it doing? Is it just trying to look like, part of the tree? And I said, we can still see you. And it grunted again, and then it turned. And as it turned, it went, "Argh!" And then, much louder and much deeper than that. But it started stomping. Boom, boom, boom. And it stomped off like it was having a tantrum right behind this line of trees, and disappeared out of view. But as it walked, I mean, it vibrated the ground where we were. And we were at that point maybe 40, 50 feet away. That's not, I mean, that's crazy. But when it walked from where it was behind the tree about 10 feet, it made absolutely no noise. In fact, I think it only took like one step to get behind the tree. So, that was my very first sighting of a Bigfoot. This might be a long podcast. So this after that, I came home, and I'm all excited on the way home. I call Amanda, and I don't know how fast I'm talking, but I'm super excited. And I'm like, holy crap, Bigfoots exist. She's like, what are you talking about? No, they don't exist. Blah, 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 blah. You're crazy. Blah, blah, blah. And I wish she would have been there that night, because she'd be singing a completely different tune. But anyways, so after that, I started looking around, and looking back at some of my experiences on another tour at Black Star. This is all going to be covering Black Star Canyon only. No other Bigfoot experiences. We can talk about other experiences later on. In fact, I may not get through them all today, so I'll just talk about the most interesting ones. The very first time we went up to Black Star, and this is probably 6 years after before I've had this visual sighting of one. We were walking down the road, and on the left side of the road, about 20 feet from us, was this big black.
Did you miss your deadline to renew your Medicaid coverage? You can still send your completed annual review form to Healthy Connections Medicaid. You may be assigned to another health plan, but you can ask to come back to First Choice within 60 days of renewed Medicaid eligibility. It's your family. It's your choice. First Choice is the right choice. Renew and choose us. Visit selecthealthofsc.com/renew to learn more.
It is Ryan here, and I have a question for you. What do you do when you win? Like, are you a fist pumper, a woo-hooer, a hand clapper, a high fiver? I kind of like the high five, but if you want to hone in on those winning moves, check out Chumba Casino. At ChumbaCasino.com, choose from hundreds of social casino-style games for your chance to redeem serious cash prizes. There are new game releases weekly, plus free daily bonuses. So don't wait. Start having the most fun ever at ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void were prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
We thought it was a person squatted down, under by a telephone pole. They got up and they 3-stepped the road, and they were 2 or 3 feet off the road, and they stepped 2 or 3 feet off the road. I went back to where I saw that and tried to duplicate it. It took me almost 6 steps, 6 giant steps, were me, almost running to hop across the road. It covered it in 3. So, when it stood up, it was squatted down when we first saw it. Then it was about 6 feet tall. When it got up, it was probably 13, 14 feet tall. Wasn't super huge. It looked more, it was kind of a cross between, maybe a little bit bigger than me, maybe a foot or 2 wider, but didn't look like a Bigfoot. It just looked like a really tall person. And so it disappeared behind this tree, and so we never thought anything of it. We just thought it was the tallest shadow person we'd ever seen. Another time, we were basically coming down from where the mine is up there. And I've covered all this stuff before, so I'm not going to go into where everything is. But we were walking down from the mine, and we got past where the trees grow over, past where I had that one sighting, and I'll go over that in a second, where the thing was crouched down on the side of the road. And essentially, a Bigfoot runs right across the road, and they had just put new sand down, new sand and gravel, and they had left a berm right by where the barbed wire fence is. So this thing stepped over just ran across the road, didn't even slow down, just went right over the barbed wire fence. Never caught itself or anything, but it left a footprint. It squashed down that berm. It left a huge heel print. Now this thing was not massive. It was probably 6, 7, 8 feet tall, but we 6 of us witnessed it. I'm like, okay, you all saw that, right? It was just brown. It was a dark brown one running across the road. I think it was a juvenile at that point. I really do think it was one of the ones I call the bouncer. I think there's twins. I think there's 2 Bigfoots up there that are about the same size and shape. And they're about the same age. Bear with me for a second. Gotta get a couple sip of coffee here. So that happened about 4 years after my first experience. So what I did was I set out to figure out where all these experiences had been happening. And I heard somebody say, I did a lot of research into Bigfoot. I spent a lot of time online watching videos of other people doing Bigfoot research. I watched the shows. I read through blogs. I asked people questions. I did a lot of stuff to figure out what I was doing. So essentially, even though I thought I knew what I was doing, I think I just stumbled across things here and there. And I think they got to the point where they were comfortable with me, and they'd seen me enough probably at night, in the middle of the night, running around like an idiot with my head cut off, that they felt comfortable that I wasn't going to try and hurt them in any way. And slowly but surely, I developed a bond with these creatures. I respected their space. They respected mine. They would act up from time to time, throw rocks over our heads, and some of them were not so little. I mean, the size of bowling balls would fly over our head. One time we were walking up the path, or the road, if you will, and out of nowhere, this little rock hits this girl's backpack and bounces off. It came in, I saw it. It came in on a complete straight line, about 4 feet off the ground. I don't know where it came from. I kind of do know where it came from. It came from some bushes, had to be 300 yards away. Something threw that so hard, it stayed on the line all the way to the point where it hit her backpack. That was insane. Another time, we were walking down, and there's some old eucalyptus trees on this very top of the hill on the right side of the path, and they're about maybe 7 or 8 feet apart, but they're pretty much right next to each other. It almost looks like a goalpost. This rock comes flying across, hits the one eucalyptus tree, and then ricochets off, hits the other one, and then ricochets back and hits the other one the original one, and then falls. That was crazy. I don't know what threw that, but that thing hit hard. It was, it just looked like, Dan Marino throwing a football, 2 feet away at something. It just bam, bam, bam. So, yeah, crazy crap. But we'll just talk about sightings tonight, essentially. So, my next most memorable sighting actually was another person. We were walking up there. I didn't tell her anything about Bigfoot, but she had she had seen some of my YouTube videos. Unfortunately, a lot of those are gone. I apologize, but my other channel got deleted after I posted some UFO stuff, and it struck a really nasty nerve. So lost my Facebook page, lost my YouTube channel. Ugh, crazy. Anyways, so essentially, she had gotten out ahead of us, just past where the gate entrance was, and she had a night vision binocular with her, and she was just playing around with it, which was cool. She wanted to do the research too. She was very into Bigfoot, um, so she was scanning the trees, and she saw a huge creature, which she described to me was just a big hairy creature standing at the top of the berm in between two trees. And as soon as she saw it with her night vision binoculars, it ducked back. It was like a split second encounter, but she saw it, and that was really cool that she had an opportunity to have an experience. Um, so that wasn't one of my encounters, but that was hers. Another time I was up there, this was, God, it had to be 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. And had walked all the way up to the mine, hadn't had any activity, no ghosts, no Bigfoot activity. It was just quiet up there, unusually quiet up there. It was like, okay, there's just absolutely nothing going on. No crickets, no noises. Everything was just super quiet. It was really surreal and interesting because it's like, what in the world's going on tonight? It's just really quiet up here. Even the ghosts weren't out, which is insane. Usually, if you go to Black Star Canyon, you'll see. I call it Shadowland for a reason. So I'm walking back down, and essentially, I walked all the way through the gate, and there's a place you can park on the left side where there's an old, what the remnants of an old ranch. And I just felt like I was being watched. And I couldn't get over this feeling of being watched. So I'm looking around and going, okay, I don't see anything. So I had a big heavy duty flashlight that was almost 3,000 lumens. And that's pretty much a headlight, if you will. So I take this flashlight and I start shining it over into the wilderness area past the barbed wire fence. And I spotlighted a Bigfoot. And now this thing was about my size, my height, my build. Solid brown, real kind of a darker brown, like a midnight brown, almost black. And it just stood there. I couldn't see the facial features. It was just too far away. It was probably at an angle, maybe 40 or 50 feet away. And it was just standing there watching me walk by. And so I think what happened was it had was going to alert the others if I had come up into that area. And as soon as I spotlighted it, literally took one step and turned its whole body. I mean, if you've ever seen the Patterson Gimlin film, that's exactly what it did. It turned its whole body, arm forward, arm back, front, back leg back, front leg forward. Excuse me. And it turned its whole upper body as it walked. I mean, literally straight towards me, and looked straight at me, and then stopped for it felt like forever, but I think it was only a second or two, and then took another step and covered about 30 feet in about 3 or 4 steps. It was insane how fast that thing, how fast it could go, and how much ground it could cover. I was like, wow. So I spotlighted it the whole way walking up into the bush. It did turn around at one point. It stopped once it got about 10 or so steps past where it had turned around originally. It actually physically stopped and turned back around and looked at me. It wasn't walking at this point, but it did stop and look at me, and then proceeded to walk up. Probably was just checking to make sure I wasn't following it. So that was my second best sighting at that point. So, hello? Okay, that wasn't creepy. Yeah, sorry. Some kind of weird sliding noise behind me. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the whole office thing, but anyways, there's possibly several things in here with attachments. When I'm in here, weird things happen. Noises, voices in my ear, all kinds of weird stuff. So anyways, all right, so getting back to the Bigfoot. Now it's freezing cold right behind my back. Can you let me finish the podcast and then I'll talk to you? Sorry, there's been a lot of activity in the house recently. Um, Amanda and I have been having a lot of strange dreams and stuff, which is really strange. Can't explain that either. But, anyways, okay, so let's get back to the story. I'm going to wrap this up. It's getting long. Um, so, another time, I had the ingenious idea. I figured out where they were walking. They were using the creek, the San Ana riverbed, and the other river that ran into the Irvine Lake. They're using that as a highway because it had large stones and a lot of just an area that wasn't sandy. It was hard soil, clay or whatever. I mean, they could walk on there and not leave any footprints at all. So they were very smart about that. They were figuring out that they could use that as a highway. Plus, it's down below. It's about 6 feet down below the path, and it has just a perfect angle so you can't see anything walking down there. I mean, somebody could have been walking down there and you wouldn't know they were there unless they were making noise. And Bigfoot tend to be very quiet when they walk. I still don't know how they do it. I have a theory that their feet must be full of fat. That basically, and their skin must be extremely tough, but their feet must be like sponges almost. So when they walk, they basically don't, they absorb a lot of stuff instead of making thuds, you know what I mean? Okay. So I had the ingenious idea of putting a trap cam down in the creek area. I left it for 2 days. 2 days in a row, about the same time, I got Bigfoots on trail cam. It was the two juveniles. I believe it's who I call the bouncers. You can see one or both of them on different days and times. I don't know if I still have those pictures because when my computer was hacked, I lost those as well, I believe. And I think I talked about this last time, having my computer hacked and all this stuff. So if you want to know about that, you can go back and listen to the previous podcast. So anyways, I was shocked that I got those pictures. I was super excited. I mean, they were clear pictures. And this was with a crappy little old trail cam that, took a minute to reset. And so I if we had one of the trap cams like we have now, we would have probably caught a whole lot more. We would probably watch them walk around and probably look and do things. I mean, I love technology. And I wish we would have had it back then instead of having the 5 megapixel, 1 minute to reset video. We could have caught a bunch of cool stuff. So anyways, so I was going up one night to do an EVP session where the trees grow over right down by where I left those trail cams. And this is probably, about 6 months later. And I hear a growling coming from my right. And I've described this before. I thought it was a mountain lion, so I'm not going to get into too much detail. But I thought it was a mountain lion. And so I kind of kept my eye to my right to make sure that, I had seen a mountain lion jump that area before, jump the barbed wire fence, go across the trail and jump the other side of the barbed wire fence. So that's why I chalked it up to. And so I was sitting there recording myself doing an EVP session. Recording myself doing an EVP session. And all of a sudden behind me, because I had my back to where the river or the creek was, I start hearing like this brush go back and forth. I'm like, wait a minute, it's not windy out here. Why is that going back and forth? So I turned around, walked over to the barbed wire fence and started looking. And I could see this one bush, only this one bush, starts going back and forth and back and forth. And this went on for about a minute. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I've talked about this before. And then this thing finally it's grunting the whole time. Making these grunting noises. And then it decides it's had enough. I'm not getting scared out. So essentially it ran to the right. And I thought I caught it on video. Unfortunately, I didn't. but that made my whole night. I was like, holy crap, I got all this on camera, which I didn't. It was just too dark. You couldn't see it. So I start walking back down the path, and I got to where the hill kind of slopes down towards where the road is, and kind of flattens out into a little bit of a valley before it goes back up into a mountain. And on the berm next to me, I mean, literally, like, I don't even know if it was 2 feet away. It feels like it was, I could have reached out and easily touched this thing. I kind of saw something. I saw two red eyes to my left, and I kind of looked like this. If you're watching the video, I kind of looked like this, and I could see exactly what it was. And it was one of the what I call the bouncers, squatted down on the side of the hill. So let me describe the squatter, excuse me, these guys to you. They're twins. I believe they're twins. I think there's two of them. These Bigfoots, they're not super tall. They're maybe 7, 8 feet tall, but they're 6 or 7 feet wide. I mean, they're just massive. They've got these huge, burly chests, huge arms. They're not like I said, they're not overly tall, but they're wide. They're almost as wide as they are tall. And maybe because they're just young. I don't know how old they were. I would have to guess they were probably 6 or 7 years old, maybe a little older. But this thing had red glowing eyes, and I just kind of like, I looked to the left. I went, oh, I didn't say anything. I didn't even acknowledge that it was there. I just went like this. I know it saw me see it. And then I took about 6 or 7 more steps before my heart finally stopped beating so fast. And I'm scared as hell at this point in time. I'm like, if I just keep walking, it won't grab me and whatever. I didn't know what it was going to do. I mean, that thing could have grabbed me and taken me off into the brush, and nobody would have heard me scream or yell or anything. I mean, middle of nowhere. Black Star is kind of a hole in Orange County. It's an area where nobody else can build. You're not allowed to build up there or anything like that. And it is a nature preserve, so you can't hunt up there or anything. So they're well protected in this area. And I'm pretty sure that's why they're there. They feel comfortable being in there. They don't mind people walking through or whatever, because people don't really go into the areas that they're in. But they come into the areas where humans are at night, and I think they're just curious. I think they're just watching to see what's going on. I think they play with people by throwing rocks at them and stuff like that. I think, because they just throw little rocks at your feet sometimes, or they would have. They did. And so essentially, I stopped after 6 feet. I took a deep breath. I turned around. It was gone. I didn't hear anything. No noise, just gone. And I'm pretty sure I walked. I wasn't running, but I walked probably the fastest mile and a half I've ever walked in my life that night. As soon as I turned around and started walking, I start hearing growling again and grunting and trees being snapped. I mean, branches being snapped. And it's following me. It followed me all the way over. It went down the side of the hill. I mean, up the side of the hill, down the other side of the hill. As I turned the corner, and when I got to the valley, I could hear it far over in the brush there, continuing to follow me until I got past the gate. And man, I mean, it took me 3 months to actually go back up there, and I said, I just had to go back up there. I could not go up. I had to overcome my fear, and I could feel them after that. I could feel how close they were. I mean, they were always pretty close. I could feel them. I mean, you could just feel their presence. It was creepy as hell. It scared me, but I wasn't afraid of being like kidnapped or anything like that. I was just afraid of, because they're so big and so huge, what they could do. I didn't know if they were going to attack me or chase me back out. I just didn't know. Up to that point, I think I was cool with them, and they just enjoyed, they didn't mind me being there. But after that, they made it known that they were upset with me for crossing the bounds that I did. So, I mean, if you're a Bigfoot researcher, just remember that you can build a bond with these things. You can, create a friendship with them and stuff like that. After that event, I spent another 9 months or something like that going back up there, trying to communicate with them again and trying to rebuild the relationship. But I left gifts, I left apples, I left all kinds of stuff for them. I left marbles. I did all kinds of things as I learned, about that stuff. I left that for them, but they never touched it. So, like I said, if you're a Bigfoot researcher, you are lucky enough to have a place where you've come in contact with them. Be careful, really nurture that relationship with them. Enjoy it. I enjoyed the hell out of communicating with them. And it was sad after I knew I messed up after that. I was like, oh crap. It really changed how I do Bigfoot research. I try and be, I'm always trying to be really respectful, but now I won't cross certain areas. If I know that's their space, I will try and honor that and just, don't cross their boundaries, so that they'll continue to communicate with us. When I talk about that now, I'm in Texas here. That's kind of like Joe's property. He and I are respectful of the Bigfoots. We're trying to protect them. We're trying to make sure that they're happy and that they're being well taken care of and stuff like that. So he and I and anybody else that goes up with me, we never cross a certain boundary. We know there's a certain boundary where that's just their territory. You need to stay out of that area. And but they do come down. They will come down through his property. They will come down and see what you're doing, and you'll see the eyes blink and stuff. But like I said, I'm trying to rebuild that relationship with them up at Joe's camp, and I'm looking for other locations kind of like Joe's where I can go down and maybe leave some offerings and let them know that I'm there, and maybe, leave some marbles and stuff. But long story short, you guys have a good one. Thanks for listening. Again, thank you guys to all the new listeners. We really appreciate you guys listening to our podcast. To all our old fans that are still with us, thank you so much. Thank you for your support on our YouTube channel and over on our other channel, our TikTok channel and our Rumble channel. That's growing too now. So everybody have a haunted day, and we'll talk to you next time. I'm not sure what we're going to talk about, but we'll talk to you about something cool. All right. Have a haunted day.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.